keep with this theme of transportation projects, I'd like to welcome Representative Aquino, Chair of the House Transportation Committee, and Representative Yamashita, Chair of House Capital Improvement Projects, all the way from Maui. Let's start with you, Representative Yamashita. What did we learn from the last recession, and why do we need this shovel-ready list?
Yeah, thank you very much, Majority Leader. I think, when we look at these things, we got to kind of look at history. And I think historically, one of the things that stood out was that the construction industry was spending in 2007 about $8.1 billion, and the state construction was about 1.13, which represented about, the state's portion was about 14%. In 2008, we spent about $980 million, where the total industry was about $8 billion, which is about 12.3%. But during the downturn of 2009 and 2010, 2011, private sector spending went down dramatically. So went down to about 6.6 billion in 2009, 5.6 billion 2010, and 5.8 billion in 2011. And so the state spending stayed about the same, about 1.1, about little north of $1 billion during that time. So at that time, government spending represented close to 20% of the total CIP at that time. So, if history proves anything, government has to step up again during this time and cover more of that. So that's why these shovel-ready projects and how we identify them are so important.
So what was the background, the genesis of this shovel-ready list that the House Select Committee is looking at right now?
Well, part of that was because we wanted input from industry and the departments. So we went to the departments and we asked them, what are shovel-ready projects? So they gave us basically everything they could possibly think of. I think, if you look at the report, it kind of shows what we did fund, what was partially funded, and then what's unfunded. So the funded part is the ones that the legislature already funded. The partially funded is ones that are departments have identified and said that they're ready to move, but they need additional money. So that's good information for us to plan ahead. And then the unfunded one is these projects are ready. They're high priority to the department, and they hope that the legislature will fund it. So we have to take all that into account when we make decisions. So that's why these reports were important.
And so as we move forward, as we continue to go through this pandemic, what other changes may we see that will cause some more projects to be added potentially?
I think, what was good about the special committee is it made the departments kind of step up also. So they actually had to sharpen their pencil, and they came to us with more detail, which was good for us as we work on this year's, possible capital improvement projects and how we adjust the projects.
So while Chair Yamashita kind of has the broad overview, here in the House, our department committee chairs also we get to dig down in the projects. And I really want to pivot to Representative Aquino. Thank you for joining us, Representative Aquino. Why are transportation projects just in general important to the state as a whole?
Well, generally, all transportation projects play a vital role in our state as a whole and in our individual communities. The movement of people, the movement of goods via our harbors, via our highway system, our roadway system, is crucial for our local economy and our supply chain, as we are learning through this current pandemic. Making key investments through CIP, making key investments in repair maintenance projects, in our overall transportation infrastructure will benefit the general public long-term wise. So I think, having said that, I think just in general, these projects are very much needed and necessary for our communities.
So from your point of view, Chair Aquino, are you happy with the project and the directions of the transportation projects? Are there any particular projects that are really important and significant that we need to really focus on?
DOT is working very hard. They're trying to deliver a lot of the preservation and maintenance projects while adding some capacity ones for highways. Just some specifics, if you break it down by division, highways, they're doing a lot of repaving. They're doing a lot of guardrail replacements along our highways and freeways. as well as a lot of key bridges. There's some key bridge work that they're doing statewide. From the airports, from my understanding, they're doing a lot of catching up as well. So they're doing a lot of improvements along our runways. They're doing some restroom repairs and maintenance. I believe they're doing some loading bridge work at all the different airports statewide. And they're just catching up on maintenance in general. So like there's a lot of plumbing that they're doing. There's a lot of painting as well. And for the harbors division, the biggest concentration of focus that they have right now is the KCT project, which is the Kapalama Container Terminal, located here in Honolulu. The reason why that's the crown jewel, you could say, for the modernization plan for harbors is the fact that we're a hub and spoke system here in Hawaii, where everything basically comes to Honolulu and then it branches out to the different harbors on our neighbor islands. So KCT is very important, and they're doing phase 2 at this time, which is a lot of the water side improvements and construction. So, I just want to highlight that particular project mainly because it will increase cargo capacity, and it'll really help with the efficiency of the movement of goods.
So these projects really are important to the state for supply reasons. So how are these shovel-ready projects addressing other needs? We hear about things like climate change. How do we encourage other modes of transportation? How are these projects also addressing other needs other than just creating jobs and helping to stabilize the economy?
Yeah, so the shovel-ready list provides a real good snapshot of what can be worked on almost immediately. And I think Rep Yamashita brought that up, that things that can be done almost immediately, meaning this year, and delivered. Some of the specific areas that the list tries to address, based on what I saw and on my discussions with the department, outside of really trying to strengthen our economy and get people working, there's a focus on maintaining safe access for all users. So some of the projects that they have listed includes improvements for pedestrian and all users in different parts of the state, including like the Leeward Coast, Waimanalo. There's some safety and some bike path and pedestrian walkway projects that they're focusing on Kauai, as well as in Wahiawa. So, there's a lot of different things that they're trying to do to address access for all road users. In addition to that, they're trying to fill some of the capacity pukas really to prepare for current and future housing development. Specifically, what we've seen on the list is development out in West Oahu, along our rail corridor. And I think the department also is trying to look at how to really address congestion without really going into heavy construction. So I think Deputy Director Sniffen had mentioned about trying to modernize our signals and focusing on Nimitz Highway, which is a main vein for the movement of goods, here in Honolulu. And but I think the plan is to go statewide. So there are over 300 signals, I believe, statewide that they're trying to modernize, and that will help, I think, with traffic congestion over time. And these are just some of the needs that they're trying to address with the current list that they provided.
And I think it's really important to note that the counties will play a role in this, and they have a lot of jurisdiction over pedestrian walkways as well as bike paths. So we're doing our part as a state, but also the counties are going to have to start looking at what they're doing. I'm going to put a shout out if anyone wants to post questions, our audience viewers. We've got two awesome chairs with us. If there are no questions, I'm going to start shifting to kind of closing up and wrapping with Representatives Aquino and Yamashita. So back to you, Representative Yamashita. Any announcements on maybe what we can expect if the legislature goes back into session with this CIP shovel-ready list?
Well, I think similarly to Chair Aquino's comments about how the Department of Transportation is so critical and ties into all kinds of things. What we're looking at is highway projects that may trigger other projects. So meaning in West Oahu, Farrington Highway is a city highway, but the state is looking into possibly figuring out how we can assist in putting that project and get that moving, because that'll open up private sector homes and things like that. And also for the state, that highway is important because then it'll trigger the second high school in Kapolei, which is, like we all know, is overcrowded in that area and things like that. So that's a big project that we're hoping will be triggered by some of these, strategic transportation projects that we know tie into other things.
And what I love about this is that it's going to start even addressing our affordable housing, because this weekend housing around the rail going to help. Shifting to you, Representative Aquino, and giving you kind of the last word on this segment, for near-term consideration related to transportation projects, what are some of the issues continue to be part of the larger community advocate conversation, and how best will it be for the public to engage in kind of the conversations we're having?
I think based on what we're experiencing the last month or two with the current situation that we're in, is that we're actually going to start taking a closer look at teleworking to address work safety and the traffic congestion that we're experiencing in the past, and that we may almost guarantee we're going to be experiencing once everything lifts and we're going back to normal as much as possible. So that's one thing. I think further movement in addressing capacity and multimodal needs of the future is going to be another key area to look at, as well as, you mentioned different ways to participate. And I think both on Oahu and on Maui, we have MPOs, and there's different ways to engage in that sense. Here on Oahu, we have the CAC committee, the Citizen Action Committee, and on Maui, they have different ways to get involved as well. For the other counties, such as Hawaii Island and Kauai, engaging directly with their departments of planning and public works would be a good step forward. And everybody working together with DOT, I think, is really crucial in trying to address some of these future issues.
Thank you, Representative. So good to see you here for joining me today. The push for more capital improvement projects is just one way that the legislature and the legislators will be working to bring back jobs and to reopen the economy. I really appreciate the work both of you are doing. So we'll see you later, and we'll see you hopefully really soon.